commanders described the US-Russia deal on Syria's chemical weapons as an important step towards the much bigger goal of a political solution to the civil war. But in a television address, Mr. Hollande said the military option must remain, otherwise there will be no pressure. Mr. Hollande said a vote on a new UN Security Council resolution in Syria could be agreed by the end of the week. Those are the headline stories. Back to you, Harriet.
Well, thank you so much, Deshawa. We can get more on all those stories on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsware. We'll take a quick break now, and when we come back, Business Morning will continue. Welcome back. You're still watching the Monday edition of Business Morning on Channels Television, and we're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. Well, today on the show, we'll be looking at latest economic developments. Now, recently, analysts with Financial Derivatives Company Limited reviewed developments in the economy and identified what it called defining factors. So joining me now on the program to look at these factors is, we'll have two analysts actually from FDC Limited, the Peterside and Damilola Akimami. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the program this morning. Well, let's start with the Naira exchange rate. The report says that the Naira is under attack by currency sharks. Can you elaborate on this? Who are the sharks and how are they operating?
Well, basically, the Naira has been under pressure, like you rightly said, for a while, and that's because there's been a huge demand which hasn't been met by the supply inflows and all. And if you look at other currencies, Nigeria is not alone. If you look at other currencies or other emerging markets, like Brazil and Russia, South Africa, you notice that these currencies also have depreciated. And one of the reasons actually is because of the US announcement of a possible tapering in its quantitative easing program, and that has resulted in a lot of foreign investors withdrawing their funds from these emerging markets. And this has put pressure on a lot of currencies, Nigeria being one of them.
So the pressure, is it coming from domestic or international investors, or both of them?
Both of them, both on the foreign side and on the domestic side. In the domestic side, also there are speculations, people arbitrate trading and all that. Also, if you also look at seasonalities like the summer that just ended and students returning to school, that has also contributed to the demand. And also even on the supply aspect, our our oil proceeds have been declining due to the disruptions occurring in the oil market. Also, CBN interventions have not been that frequent, and even if they've been frequent, the volume actually hasn't been enough to offset the demand. So these are some of the reasons that have actually put pressure on the Naira.
Okay, so apart from all of these, conditions that you've just listed, do we have any others that would be so significant enough to put the pressure as you're talking?
Yes, there's the issue also in the money market, like we're all aware of the CRR debit and all, that actually created a funding gap in the money market. And now a lot of banks have had to do so many things to fund that gap, some of them being reduction in their net open position and selling some of their dollar portfolios and all that. And that also has translated to, we actually expected there to be a short-term appreciation in the forex market because of the liquidity squeeze, but that just occurred for like a week. And after that, we still seeing the pressure resume.
Because we noticed that the interbank rates actually went up to about 15%. That's according to what you have in the report.
Yes, the Naira at the interbank market, it depreciated to as low as 163. That's like a 15-month high. I mean, a 15-month low and all that. So it's something that we should consider. And again, the MPC meeting is going to occur very soon. So I'm sure most banks are actually going to keep a square position to anticipate, because nobody knows what decision is going to make.
I was going to ask you, we know that one of the reasons why the CBN, has been tightening its monetary policies to try to stabilize the exchange rate. So, with all of this happening, do you think that the CBN is actually losing the battle or is actually winning it?
Well, what I'll just say is that nobody has ever won a currency war, and the CBN has stated it clearly that it's going to continue to defend the Naira. Okay. So there are various options available. Today, maybe there's a further tightening or possible moving of the midpoint from maybe 155 to 160. But in the long run, the Naira is going to depreciate. So it's not a matter of if it's going to depreciate, but when it's going to happen.
Yes. Okay, so now let's look at another aspect where you covered in your report. As a stock market now, it lost over about 500 billion naira thereabouts in August. What was responsible for this bearish trend?
Well, looking at the month, we saw, as Sheila said previously, that brought about the pressure on the Naira. We've seen the announcement of the CBN NPC that increased the CRR on banks, the public sector deposit in banks. That brought in a situation where there was liquidity concerns, where over 1 trillion naira was debited from banks' position. So you need money to be able to fund buy and sell transactions. So that affected demand. So and that put a lot of pressure on banks. And as rates went high, so lending rates increased. Also, the banks now had to look for funds. So we've seen the interbank rates also increase. And as well, lending rates increase. So the banks, for instance, their interest margin, the profitability was being threatened by that singular act of the MPC. So, and the banking sector is one of the most liquid and active in the stock market. So, if this is a major sector of the NSC and its profitability is being threatened, so that led to a situation where investor sentiments now changed from a bull run that was witnessed in the previous month of July to being bearish. Okay. So we observed a massive exodus of funds from equities position to the fixed income because the equities sector is normally seen as one that will give good returns given your risk appetite. But in such a situation where fixed income became very attractive and rates quite high and attractive, above inflation rates, that means you're earning real returns on your investment if you play the fixed income market. So traditionally, you're going to see a funds flow from the equities to the fixed income. We experienced that in the month of August.
Okay.
And also the global events. So we don't.
Yes, I was just going to ask you that you're focusing so much on the financial services, that's the banking sector
Yes.
now, but we also know that we've got foreign investors on the market.
Market,
so
yeah.
what actually happened? Did
Yeah.
we have a lot of exiting of foreign investors on the market?
Yes, we did. Earlier on this year.